Now, speaking of big crowds, Illinois had a sellout in this game. First time they've had that in 8 years as they took down a top 20 ranked Kansas team. They're now 2-0. Ross, the expectations weren't really sky high for Illinois coming into the year. What are they at this point?
Yeah, and speaking of Nebraska, right? I think they play at Illinois on a Friday night in a couple weeks, so that's an interesting one. Yeah, you're right. The expectations for the Illini weren't very high entering the season. I don't know if they've altogether changed. You look at the last game against Kansas. Look, this isn't your dad or your grandpa's Kansas, right? This Kansas is really good, and Lance Leopold has had this program the last couple years as one of the best in the Big 12. A lot of folks picked Kansas to win the Big 12 this year, and in Illinois put them away, and specifically defensively. You know, it's not often you see a team win a game not cracking the 300-yard mark offensively. But right. Illinois found a way to do it and did it well on defense. 3 interceptions, a fumble recovery, returned one of those interceptions for a touchdown. So big win. First non-conference home win since 2011. That seems hard to believe, but big stuff for Brett Bielema, and that's a power conference, non-conference home win. And big stuff for Brett Bielema. And you look at again the upcoming schedule in a couple weeks. They get the Huskers.
Are you predicting maybe they'll both be ranked by the time you get to that game? I mean, who would have predicted that would potentially be the case by the time the Illini face the Huskers in late September? But that's on the table for the way each program has been performing up to this point, Ross. And you talk about the defense. I couldn't agree more, especially a guy like Xavier Scott, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, all the tackles he had, multiple interceptions, forced fumble, pick 6 being one of those. I mean, he went out there making plays that now reminds us of the defense that Ryan Walters put on the field 2 seasons ago with all those exceptional secondary players, the plays that were being made on the back end, and the way that he wasn't the only Scott that was out there getting big things done either. Miles Scott was able to get big things happening on the back end also. So if you get that type of production, that performance, that confidence against an offense in Kansas that in recent years has been one of the most explosive in college football. So going into the game, I thought, all right, if Illinois is going to win, it's got to be like Caden Fagan controlling the clock, and their offensive line has to dominate the line of scrimmage. That wasn't the case. That Illini defense, though, was lights out throughout the night.
You're right. 2 years ago with Ryan Walters, they were one of the best defenses in the country. They lose him last year, take a huge drop off. This year, 2 games in, giving up a grand total of 17 points. Right. That's the key part to their turnaround this year.